All right, next topic is same lesson. This is still lesson 16. I gotta get the hang of this stylus here. So lesson 16, and now we're going to talk about the division of polynomials. It's I think a bit more complicated, but as long as we pay attention to what we're doing here, we should be fine. It's just like long division. So remember with long division, if I wanted to take groups of 12 out of 49, okay? So what I would do is I would say, well, how many groups of 12 can I take out of 49? And that would be 4. And then I would go and I would multiply that back through. So then I would take 4 times 12 and write my product of 48. Subtract, okay? Do my subtraction. That would be 1. We could add a decimal, right? How many groups of 12 can I take out of 10? Well, that would be 0. Okay, 0 times 12 is 0. Do the subtraction, right? So what we end up with, that looks like a 6. All right, so what we would have, if this is my remainder here, let me see if I can highlight. If this is my remainder, how I would write that is my quotient would be 4 plus 10 over 12, right? And we could write that as a fraction. It would be 4 and 10 twelfths, and then you were taught that you had to simplify that or reduce your fractions. So you'd end up with 4 and 5 6. So that would be your final quotient, okay? The exact same process is happening here, but now it's only with polynomials. So I don't want you to panic. I'm going to walk you through it, but it's the exact same process as long division, but with the polynomials. So let's go through, and they're going to give us this example. Why am I still in yellow? Get out of yellow. So here's our first example. And I have 2 plus 5x minus 2x squared, okay, plus 5x cubed, and they want us to divide that, polynomial by negative 4x, or I'm sorry, negative 4 plus x, okay? So when you're setting up these long division problems, first thing you have to remember is make sure everything is written in standard form. Okay, so we want, oh, what did I do? Sorry. Go away, come back. Okay, so we need to have everything, have all polynomials written in standard form. I'm trying to write that, but this is giving me a written in standard form. So that's important. So when I go to write this, right, I'm going to take my x minus 4 and put it on the outside. So what I did is I rearranged this. My x comes first, and then my negative 4 would come second, because I want highest exponent to lowest exponent ending with my constant. So I rearranged this polynomial, and I put it on the outside of my division. And then I'm going to have to rearrange this guy, because I want to go 3, 2, 1, and always end in my constant. I'm going to pay very close attention to the signs in front. So my 5x cubed goes first. All right. See how my 2x squared is negative? So when I write that in underneath my division, it's going to be negative 2x squared. Then this 5x here has a positive sign in front of it. So when I go to write that, I'm going to put plus 5x. And then I'm going to put that plus 2. And I know it's a plus 2 because if I'm looking at the 2, there's no negative sign in front of it. So when I write it here, I can make it positive. And I'm going to, oh, I didn't want to do that. Did not want to do that. Okay, so I made sure both of my polynomials are written in standard form. And now I can start with the division. So here's what I'm going to ask myself. X times something is going to give me 5x cubed, okay? I'm not going to really worry about this negative 4. I'm going to say x times something is going to give me this 5x cubed. Okay, so I know it's going to be 5 because 5 times x is going to give me 5x, but then I need the x squared. So 5x squared times x is going to give me this positive 5x cubed. So let me just highlight exactly what I did here. So x times this equals that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply, right? 5x squared times x gives me 5x cubed. And then I have to go through and I have to multiply this 5x squared times negative 4. Well, 5 times negative 4 gives me a product of negative 20. And then x squared comes along. So the other thing that we have to make sure to do is always line up, oh my goodness, I thought it was on, is always line up our place values, okay? So if I have an x squared term in my quotient, it needs to be directly above the x squared term in my dividend. All right, so now next important step, we're gonna parenthesize subtract, because what that does is it changes all of the signs in here and that becomes an addition problem. So now I can say negative 2x squared plus 20x gives me 18x squared. Negative 5x cubed minus 5x cubed is going to cancel. It should always cancel. If it doesn't cancel, you did something wrong. Okay. Just like with long division, I'm now going to bring this 5x down. So now I have plus 5x. So here I go again. X times something is going to give me 18x squared. Okay. Well, I'm going to need it. Oh, goodness. I'm going to need an 18, right? Because 18 times x is going to give me 18. And then I need the x, because 18x times x is going to give me 18x squared. It's going to be a positive. And I've made sure that my x terms align vertically, okay? And now I'm gonna do my multiplication. 18 times x gives me 18x squared. 18x times negative 4. Well, 18 times 4 gives me 72. A positive times a negative gives me a negative. And remembering that step, to parenthesize subtract. So after I distribute that negative, all my signs are going to change and it becomes an addition problem. 5 plus 72 gives me 77. Remembering that this should always cancel. If your first term does not cancel, you have done something wrong. Go back and check your quotient. I'm now going to bring down the plus 2. You probably caught what I did wrong here. Remembering that these should be x terms. I forgot the x. Okay. So now back to the x times something here should give me 77x. Well, I'm going to need 77, right? So I'm going to put my 70. I always do that. My 77 here. It's going to be positive because I have a positive product. 77 times x gives me 77x. 77 times 4 gives me a product of 308. But again, I have a positive times a negative, so it's going to be a negative 308. And then we have to remember to parenthesize, subtract, and it changes all of my signs inside my second term. So then when I do my combining of like terms, I'm going to have, not 4, where'd I get the 4? I'm going to have 310, and again, this will cancel. So when I go to write this, there's no more terms, there are no more terms over here that I need to bring down, okay? So now I just have this remainder, right? So here's how you have to write your quotient. After you do the division, your quotient should be written like this. So I have 5x squared plus 18x plus 77. And then I have to add in that remainder, just like we did with that very first example problem to refresh ourselves with long division. Plus, my remainder is 310 over my divisor here, right? So I have to put that over x minus 4. So that is how you have to write your quotients. Make my 4 a little bit nicer. Making sure to include your remainder. Okay. Let's do another example problem together. And I like this one because it adds that extra piece we have to make sure. So it tells us to divide. So we're going to divide negative 6 plus x cubed, all right, by negative 2 plus x. So that's how they're giving it. This is what is going to be on the inside because it's telling me to divide this by that. Okay, so this is going to be my divisor. So when I write this out, I'm going to have, remembering to put it in standard form, x minus 2 on the outside. And then notice on this binomial, I have a cubed exponent, but then I jump to my constant. So I'm going to have to put in place fillers to make sure that all of my place values are accounted for. So I can't just jump from a cubed term to a constant. It's not going to work when you try to divide it. You have to make sure you have all your place fillers. So I'm going to put my x cubed first. Then I have to go to my x squared term, but I don't have any of those, so I'm just going to put my place filler. I don't have any x terms, so I'm just going to put a place filler, and now I can put my constant. So if they're going to throw polynomials at you, but missing exponents, right? So 3, 2, 1, 0, you have to make sure to use those zeros as place fillers. So let's write that out as a note to remind ourselves because it's kind of a super important step. So let's see, we need to make sure all place values are accounted for, or are included. So put that in your notes. I don't just write this stuff because I'm bored. I write it because I want you to write it. So make sure all place values are included. So when I go to do this one, I'm going to start by looking at x times something is going to give me x cubed, all right? So I don't have any coefficients. I don't have to worry about any numbers, but I do need some extra x's, right? X times something gives me x cubed, and that's going to be an x squared. And again, I need those place fillers, right? Because now remembering that your place values have to line up vertically. I can't put an x squared term over anything but an x squared term. Now let's perform the multiplication. X squared times x gives me x cubed. X squared times -2 gives me -2x squared. And then I'm going to parenthesize, subtract, and that changes all of your signs inside the second polynomial, and now you have an addition problem. 0x plus 2x squared gives me 2x squared. And then this should always cancel, okay? Now I'm going to bring this down. All right, and now I'm going to ask myself, x times something is going to give me this 2x squared, all right? Well, 2 times 1 gives me 2, so I can put the 2 in there. Oh, goodness. And then to get an x squared times x, I'm going to need another x term. All right, so 2x times x gives me 2x squared. 2x times -2 gives me -4x. And we are going to remember to parenthesize subtract, which changes all of the signs inside that second polynomial. Add them up. So here I'm going to have a 4x. This should cancel. There's my 0. So what I'm going to do now is bring down the -6. Okay? So x times something is going to give me this 4x. Well, I need a 4. All I'm missing is a positive 4. 4 times x gives me 4x. 4 times -2 gives me a -8. Remembering now to parenthesize subtract, parenthesize subtract. So when I add those up, I'm going to have a positive 2 here. This should cancel. So 2 is my remainder. So when I write this out as a quotient, I can say x squared plus 2x plus 4 plus my remainder of 2 over x minus 2. Okay, what you're going to do now is in, I like that hot pink, that was nice. Under Algebra 2 for IXL, you're going to work on the K.4 for practicing your long division with polynomials. And it is your job to let me know if you need me.